血に守ってもらえ。抜刀抜刀じっとしててね。
Hey, what is going on, guys? Haze here with another Chaos Hero Nightmare video, and since it's been about a week since her release, I think maybe a couple more days till it's been a week, but basically it's been a week since the release of Yuki, and whether you think she's trash, whether you think she's good, if you pull the unit, you most likely want or need a guide, so that is the purpose of this video. I'm going to try to help you out and share with some of what I think are the best epiphanies and cards and duplication, all of that, what I think are some of the best choices for Yuki. Now, as always, remember to like and subscribe if this video does help you out. Without further ado, let's get into it. So, starting off with Yuki's cards, as usual, we have her two basics, or three basics, I guess. I don't really count the shield because you always want to remove a shield. If you've been playing the game for a while now, you always want to remove this shield right here. And in most cases, you would want to remove both of your character's basics as well, but in Yuki's case, you might not want to. Reason being is because these can actually do a pretty good amount of damage when you have inspiration activated, especially this 2-cost card right here. But if you can, without, as we know about the cost for removing cards now, thanks to the Save Data update, if you can afford to remove these cards, you can if you can't afford to. Once again, you might want to keep it sometimes, like this hit, and Chaos has saved me so many times, but when you actually get to the basin of the, I forgot what it's called, when you get to the Dimensional Twilight, yes, when you get to Dimensional Twilight, these moves kind of become, what's the word, obsolete, and you don't really need them, but these can help you out and carry you through your Chaos runs. So, final verdict, you can remove the cards if you want to, if you have enough cost and can afford to remove these cards. Always remove the basic. But if you need a choice between removing the 1 or the 2 cost, I do like removing the 1 cost. I don't know, I just think it's too weak. Even with the 0 cost, I think it's way too weak to consider keeping the card. So if you want to keep one out of these, keep the Rapid Slash. Moving on to her Prepare to Subdue, one of her best cards and definitely one of the big choices to duplicate. Let's go over to the Epiphanies first. Starting off, this Retain one, it gives a 40% damage boost, but I never see myself keeping this card. It's for 0 cost, so like I always have the AP to use it, and I don't think the 40% damage bonus is worth it compared to some of these other cards. Now this one is just a basic draw 1 and then increase the amount of damage of attack cards by this unit by 20% for 1 turns. Now this says increase the amount of damage for attack cards, so it does increase all your cards' damage based on what it says, but as it only draws 1 card, I still don't think it is worth it. Then we go on to choice number 3. Draw 2 attack cards, so we're getting better, but then we instantly get worse with the decreased damage amount for those cards by 20% for 1 turn. I don't like decreasing my damage, so that is out. These 3 automatically out the window. These 2 are more often my go-to choices, especially if I have Divine Epiphanies on any of them. First, we have draw 1 attack cards of this unit and increase damage of that specific card by 20% for 1 turn. And then, if this card is under inspiration, you draw another attack card. So this can be a draw 2 if this has inspiration active. And then this one, I'd say the difference between these two, use this if you have AP to waste. Like if you have AP to spare on your team, like AP isn't a problem with you, this would be the go-to because this draws 2 cards in that 1 turn if you do have inspiration active. But if you can't afford to spare the AP on that many cards in 1 turn, this one can be better because this draws 1 for 1 turn, and then in the next turn you will draw another card and that card will have inspiration active because it's getting drawn by the Prepare to Subdue. So yeah, just based on your team, whether you have more AP, go with this choice. A little less AP, you can go with this choice. But I do like this card. This is my favorite right here. Now, let's go ahead and move on to her Flash Slash, one of her biggest damaging moves in the game, next to the Iceberg Cleave. But let's start off with the Flash Slash and go over to the Epiphanies. I'm not going to read the base stats, you already know that. Let's just go over what I think are the best. Now, this one right here is one, I have 2 choices for this, 2 Epiphanies for this that I like to choose, and this is the first one. 332% damage to all enemies, inspiration, and decrease cost by 1. I like using it for 1 cost. If you can get a Divine Epiphany that lowers it even further to 0, this becomes even better. And there's also some Divine Epiphanies that gives it vulnerability. If you ever see the vulnerability Divine Epiphany, I keep saying Divine Epiphany, but I'm pretty sure it's just a normal Epiphany that doesn't show up here for whatever reason. The game doesn't include it, even though it really should, but I also do like the vulnerability option. And then you have this one. This is also a nice one, decrease cost by 2. So it becomes 0 cost without a Divine Epiphany or anything, or whatever you call the other Epiphany. This becomes 0 cost. And then we have this one, damage to all enemies, inspiration plus 1 hit. This can be good if you have the AP for it. Like, the 2 hits are nice. It gives you another chance to crit, but it's still going to be a 2 cost card. So, like in the showcase that I'm going to show later on in this video, I am running this card, but like I said, if we don't have the AP for it, then I really can't recommend it. This one, Retain. This one is a single target card for an AoE unit. This one does hit hard, but it's so funny to me, some of these Epiphany choices. And this one use decrease cost by 1. The fight isn't going to last long. It shouldn't, let me rephrase that. It shouldn't last long enough for you to use this 3 times and like, no, I don't like these choices. So either the one that decreases cost or applies vulnerability, I do like those choices. And this one can be good if you have the AP to spare, but I do like these front 2 choices if you're going to ask me. Next, let's move over to Trickery Strike, one of my favorite cards, probably the most fun card in her deck. This one right here, and I'm immediately going to skip past all of them and show what is my favorite one. Actually, no. This one I think is trash. It does no damage. It activates inspiration for all cards in this unit, but chances are you already have inspiration active for some of the cards, so it kind of gets wasted. And then this one turns it into a damage card instead of a utility card. The utility options that it does have still do damage, but this one just completely takes away the utility. And if you activate inspiration, you can cast this for 0, 312% damage. Pretty cool, I guess. This one, retain and retrieve. So retrieve means you get it back after you use it, but it's activate inspiration for 1 random card. I like having a choice. So these 3, no, not these 3. 1, 2, 3, I don't really like. It is this one and this one that I do like. And for number 2, this one right here, retain, choose 1 card in hand to activate the inspiration effect. I do like having a choice, because if you have basics and this activates the inspiration basic instead of one of your flash slash inspiration or your iceberg cleave inspiration, that's going to be very annoying. So having the choice to activate inspiration on a card of your choice, that makes it all the better. But this one right here is the best one in my opinion. For a little bit less damage, you can straight up draw a card that has inspiration effect. It doesn't matter where it is, you can just draw the card and put it in your deck, and like, you might be thinking, well, isn't that a random card? Yeah, but if you don't have any cards at all in your deck and you get this card, you get the damage, and you can just summon another card to do even more damage after that. So my choices would be this for number 1 and this for number 2. So number 4 for number 1 and number 1 for number 2. Too many numbers, getting confusing. Next, I think it's the last as well, because Iceberg Cleave doesn't have any epiphanies, but next we have Freezing Blade. For most people, this one with initiation, which is Outbreak of War, if you didn't know, they renamed it. When using a card of this unit with activated inspiration, 60% damage to all enemies. This is just whenever you use an inspiration effect, this does AoE worth 60% damage to all enemies. Pretty basic. And another one I like is because sometimes the game likes to screw you over and not give you this initiation one. I do like this one. This does even more damage. This makes you do even more damage to all enemies, once again, when using a card with activated inspiration. And this number can go up with morale buffs or any damage buffs, really. This number can go up. So the fact that this goes from 60 to 90, you can get even higher. So you do even more AoE damage to enemies once you use a card with activated inspiration. So these 2 are my top 2 choices, and if you wanted a third, This one, it's for single target. To a random enemy, it does more damage than both of these, but it doesn't attack all enemies, it does it to one single enemy. So while it does give you more damage, you lose the AoE aspect. So once again, I do like number 2 for my first choice, and then number 1 for my second choice. And with that being said, I think we have covered all of her epiphanies, the ones that I like at least. So now let's move on to her partner choices, and her partner choices are pretty straightforward. Either pull her own weapon or use Lillian. Now, I know people have been using Scarlet, but I don't have Scarlet to showcase, but most people won't have Scarlet unless you're already a Ren main or got lucky for some reason. If you do have Scarlet, you can also use Scarlet if you don't have her weapon and don't feel like using Lillian, but I do think Lillian, if you do have her, is a pretty nice choice. Now, this does say with a cost of 1 or less, deal 10% more damage, and the drawing ability is once again with a cost 1 or less, but honestly, the only 2 cost card that she has is her basic, which sometimes you might remove, and Flash Slash, which when activated with inspiration decreases the cost by 1 anyway. So most of her cards, especially the ones that do big damage like Iceberg Cleave, are 1 cost anyway, so you will be drawing that card no matter what. So yeah, either you pull her weapon, I do think her weapon is a pretty nice quality of life, but not needed at all, or she has a pretty nice free-to-play option, like I said before, Lillian right here. Now that's pretty quick. Let's move on to her memory fragments. Memory fragments is a little weird. As you can see, I only have the 2 set plus 25% critical damage. I just went for whatever could give me the highest stats. I know they have recently buffed the order set, so I do have to try that out to see if it is better with her, but honestly, I'm clearing just fine with my mismatched set, and I don't really think it matters at all. But if you ask me, 2-piece crit damage and 2-piece attack would be nice. I only switched to this whatever rainbow set I got going on just to see if I could hit 200% crit damage. Okay, alright. You don't gotta call me out during the guide. Come on, man. But yeah, the memory fragments, you can go the 4-piece order set with 2-piece crit damage, or you can go 2-piece with the attack set and crit damage. It's pretty basic. Just pick whatever set you have the best substats on. Now, as for her save data, and what I think are the best cards to copy / remove, even though I already went over the removing thing earlier, let's just show over the current save data that I used in the, I keep saying mentioning it, but there is going to be a showcase at the end of the video, and this is the save data that I used. As you can see, I removed the shield and her basic attack that just does no damage. I didn't want to risk removing the rapid slash and having one of my cards get removed, so I kept that in. Now, as you can see, I duplicated the epiphany of this prepare to subdue that I mentioned earlier, the one that draws 1 attack card, and if it has the inspiration, it draws another attack card that same turn. Once again, if activated with inspiration. I just like having her own draw power, because this is what people kind of get confused with Yuki. Because the devs kind of led us wrong by showing us Cassius, Lucas, and Nia in the showcase. You kind of think that we needed them to draw her cards, but she does a pretty good job of drawing her own cards herself, especially if you get some of these cards like this one down here, Aggressive Mutant, but we won't go over that yet. I also duplicated Iceberg Cleave because this is once again one of her biggest damaging attacks, even though it decreases the damage by 20%. When you do get it with inspiration, this is still one of her biggest damaging attacks, especially in the AoE area. And I would have liked to duplicate Flash Slash, but it's the one that has 2 costs, so that would have been very expensive to use, so that would have kind of been weird. But then again, there's so many fewer choices, or chances I should say, to duplicate your cards in the first place. In the new Chaos mode, the event Chaos, I didn't really get the option to duplicate Flash Slash either. So my top choices for duplications for Yuki would be Prepare to Subdue, Iceberg Cleave, and Flash Slash if you can get it with a cheaper cost. Like the 2 cost duplication, I don't really see the point. But yeah, when you the cards I do like to duplicate are Prepare to Subdue, once again, Iceberg Cleave, and Flash Slash. Now, as for her, what do you call these? General cards? They keep changing the name up so much. I don't really care. As for general cards, I do like Aggressive Mutant, especially if you can get it on a Divine Epiphany. It is exhaust, yes, but that just means it clears up your deck. But this also draws one of her own attack cards, and obviously when you draw it with this, the inspiration does get active, and for 1 turn plus 50% damage amount, And I have the Divine Epiphany that gets 1 extra morale, so even more damage, and it also gives me 1 AP. And it's 0 cost again, so this card is just great for her. And some other great cards that are good for her, let me go over to my save data. This one of 70k I think has it, is Belligerence. Belligerence is also good. If there are no attack cards in hand, draw 2. Well, I have an Epiphany on this, that's where you see the vulnerability. But if there are no attack cards in hand, draw 2. Now this one is very, how should I say this? It's very team specific, because if you're playing with Veronica, you're always going to have the ballistas in hand, so you can't really make use of Belligerence to draw the 2. So it's completely useless if you're playing with Veronica. But if you're playing with units that you might not have that many attack cards on, you can definitely make use of Belligerence. And is that it for her cards? I guess we can go over equipment. Equipment, we have right here Dopamine Injector. When drawing an ability, increase damage amount by 20% for 1 turn, 2 times per turn. Pretty basic, as you know, Yuki always loves to draw, so she's always going to have this damage buff up. And then this one, Fragment of the Empty Void. You could put this on a support or Yuki. I put this on Yuki because my supports were already built. Like, I already had save data with them having this one on, so I just put it on her, because why not, you know? Either put this on or on your Yuki, and you could discard up to 3 cards and then draw those cards. And if one of those cards are Yuki's cards, Inspiration will be active, off rip. You get this at the start of the turn. It's amazing. And then this one is also from the new Chaos. At the start of your battle, change the cost of one of your cards in your hand to 0 for 1 turn. This is pretty self-explanatory. A 0 cost card you get to play for free. Pretty nice if you can get it. Now, equipment, honestly, for Yuki, I think this is the most important one, because the ability to get inspiration cards as soon as your turn starts is very important. And for the attack slots, this can honestly be anything. Like, if you go down, this one is better than the one I have in, pretty sure, because it's mythic, whatever. When you draw an ability, plus 35% damage to your own attack cards for 1 turn. That's pretty nice. And I think I have the legendary one down here somewhere. Yeah, we also have this one. Anything about drawing attack cards to increase your damage, that's pretty good for Yuki. Like I said, you can equipment, you never know what equipment you're going to get during the run. Everybody's deck is going to be random, so that doesn't really matter. And before we move on to the teams, let's just go over potential really quick, even though it's pretty self-explanatory. Yuki, you want to focus on unique card upgrades, this reason being her basics. Once again, as I said before, you can remove these 2 if you want, but I will say, actually, okay, let me go back. Potentials, you definitely want to focus on the unique node, but when you're doing chaos, your basics will do, like people have so much trouble clearing the chaos of Yuki, but if you do level up your basic card upgrade, I'm telling you, and if you get the, what do you call it? I forgot what we call it, the buffs that you get in the beginning, the little 3 sections where it gives you those 3 buffs. If you get the basic card plus 1 hit, I'm telling you, Yuki's cards hit harder than ever when you get that, especially for single target, because you know Chaos is just a big boss that you have to fight. That's why people are struggling with Yuki, but I'm telling you, that makes your run all the much easier. But yeah, you definitely want to focus on unique, because that's where most of her big damage comes from. This is unique, this is unique, this is unique, and then this is also unique, but that's not a damaging move. These are your only 2 basics, so definitely want to focus on unique. And then I do like going all the way up and getting this unique node locked. It may cost you a bit, but if you want to play Yuki, you might as well do it. This makes your Iceberg Cleave and your Flash Slash, which is her biggest damaging attacks, to do even more damage the more attack you have. So once again, unique cards, try to get this if you can, even though it's not needed. Crit rate, crit damage, as you know, I didn't do this yet because these are both of her basics. I don't really see a need to waste. I don't even got that. I don't got it like that, so that's why I didn't do it, actually. I'm over here capping. I would have maxed it if I could. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it for, I think we went over everything. Egos, not gonna go over egos. Memory fragments, cool, already went over that. Potential, cool, save that, we already went over that. Okay, now let's move on to the teams, and then lastly, let's show off the showcase. Now, time for Yuki's teammates. Now, let's go over this. Veronica, nope. Nia, nope. Mika, nope. Yuki's true best teammate is this right here. Save data, this guy right here, this lone soldier. This is Yuki's true best teammate. Now, obviously, I'm gonna go over her teammates really soon, but this card right here, choose 1 attack cards from the draw pile, move it to hand. any one of Yuki's attack cards that you feel like drawing, this draws, and boom, inspiration active. It's literally that easy. No trouble, zero cost. If you get a divine epiphany that gives you 1 AP or vulnerability or morale, whatever, this card is her best teammate. So make sure you get these on your supports, namely the ones I'm about to mention. Now I know I just said know that, but yes, Veronica is one of Yuki's best teammates. Anybody that can draw, Veronica, Nia, Ray. Ray is a very nice teammate for Yuki. I've come to realize the way she can buff her up and draw. Ray is a top tier choice for Yuki. Ray with the buffing Yuki and drawing, or Veronica with her own damn damage and still drawing as well. Some of Yuki's best teammates. You can still use Nia, you can still use Mika as usual, Cassius, you can still use them, Barrel as well, you can still use them. If you have a vulnerability build for your Orlea, you can use her as well. Yuki's, that's why I said the attack card is her teammate, because you can really use her with any one of these supports and still win as long as you have the attack card to draw for her. But when you're running Chaos, this is for my people who are struggling with Chaos with Yuki, I do think Ray and Mika is very, very comfy, and when you're outside of Chaos doing the Dimensional Twilight, you can really run her with anything, provided you have enough draw power. But those are my options, my recommendations for... I guess you do have Lucas, but I'm not really the guy to share anything on Lucas because he's my only level 1 character. But yeah, as I said before, any unit that does have draw power works well with Yuki. And I think that's all we covered for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Let's move on to the showcase. And yeah, that is pretty much it. An easy 2 Sinclair. Like I said, you guys saw my memory fragments before. My freaking rainbow set. We got 5.5% crit damage on this one. Crit chance, and then 7% crit damage. This one is really nice. 10% crit damage, 5% crit chance. Just crit chance, crit damage, critical damage, and then critical damage, yeah. So we're at 48 over 203. Shut up, Yuki. Oh my god, you're yapping in my ear. And, okay, alright, I guess. Where is this at? Nah, let me see this, man. Before you finish off the remainder. Voices off. Okay. And then as for the other two, where's Ray? Ray, obviously cards. Oops. We have her on the double draw 2. This build's pretty trash, but this is the only one I had double draw 2 on. And Mika, not needed at all. I really just had Mika because she's the one I have the most attack cards on. Especially this one is pretty nice, the 1 AP. That's why we use Mika, but as I said before, you could use anyone. Just make sure you get some attack cards to use them with. But yeah, that is pretty much just for the Yuki showcase, guide, whatever you want to call it. And I hope some of you guys out. This was Haze. Peace.